Hi everyone. Today I am honoured to be joined with Snehar Shah, CEO of iXAfrica Data Centres. Snehar was recognised as a top 40 under 40 by Business Daily Africa. Snehar, how are you?
Yeah, Bunty, nice to see you again.
Yeah, I think it's great that things like Zoom now have made the world smaller and we can connect on Zoom. You're in Kenya, Nairobi, I take it.
Yeah, exactly. In cold Nairobi today, we're getting into our winter season.
Really? Well, I'm in a very warm London at the moment, so that's where I am. So, Sneha, tell me, I've kind of been reading a little bit about you, and I know obviously we know a little bit about your family, and you know my wife's family quite well. Um, so, your origins come from Eldoret in Kenya, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's where I spent my childhood. I was born in Mombasa, in Kenya, but until the age of 12, I had very sweet memories of yeah living in Eldoret in the Rift Valley. Again, quite cold climate, very high altitude. That's where all the runners come from, and I guess that's where I got my running spirit, which I took up later in my life. But yeah, Eldoret was great. It was a very small community, and we lived in an extended family. So yeah, I look back a lot at my childhood. My father is known as Dilhar. We were part of the DK Shah family. And in fact, I was named after my father and his brother. So they're known as Manhar, Dilhar, Premhar. And then they found a name for me, Sneher. And then there's a joke that runs in the family because then they said the next one they might name Tusker and then Buster. My mom is called Surekha. She was known as Kanta in her early days. So she grew up in Mombasa. And I have two siblings, Amit and Anand. So my youngest brother, Anand, yeah, he had a bit of an accident when he was young. He got some burns, and that sort of affected his learning development. So yeah, my parents, they were quite well established in Eldoret. That multiple businesses, but for our education also, especially for my younger brother, they sacrificed their wonderful life in back in Eldoret to then move to the UK. So yeah, we moved in 1988. Um, so yeah, it was quite a transition for me because settling into a new world as a teenager, and in those days, UK was not as cosmopolitan as it is today. So yeah, it was like almost starting over my life from scratch. But that's what's made me today, I believe, because I'm become a kind of person who can adapt to different situations, whether it's in work or in adventure or as family. So yeah, it was a good challenge to move to the UK.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what was it like living in the UK in the late 80s? I mean, you obviously had a change of school. You would have been in probably quite a nurturing school in Kenya, and all of a sudden you're in a school. I take it in Harrow, somewhere around there. What was that like? It must have been a real shock for you.
Yeah, it was, and yeah. So when I started in a school called Park High in Stanmore. I was there for a couple of months, and in those days it was before social media. So for people to fathom that I was coming from Africa and Kenya, and then they thought it was jungle. So yeah, they kind of treated me like a jungle boy.
Oh, really?
But then we moved house. So then I went to Noah Hill
Oh, right. Yep.
in North Harrow.
Yep.
So that's where I did my GCSEs. And I think the way we've been brought up, so academically, yeah, it was always aiming high. So yeah, I managed to get some good grades at
Well,
GCSE.
I think you're being humble here. I think you must have got great grades. You went to Imperial, young man. I mean, that's a very
Yeah,
good
yeah. So,
university to
but,
go
but
to.
before Imperial, so then my parents sent me to Merchant Taylors
Yep.
in Northwood to do my A levels.
Yep.
So that's what I did. And I always knew my career has always been planned. I always knew that I wanted to work in business.
Yep.
But I had a strong interest in engineering and science. Anyone as a kid, I liked making things. Um, you know, you know, we actually had an electronics business, so I was always like dismantling radios and TVs. So I had a passion for studying engineering. So yeah, I'd applied to Cambridge, and I got into St. Catherine's College, but I ended up rejecting that to go to Imperial. I had a big fight with my school because they obviously wanted wanted the numbers in Oxbridge.
Yes.
But Imperial was a better course because I wanted to study electrical engineering, so which is what I did for 3 years. I mean, looking back, I mean, there's a lot of things that you regret.
Yes.
I wish I'd joined a rock band and had a career in music because I also had a passion for music.
You should
I,
mention that. Funny you should mention that because it was on my list of things to ask you. You're a very good singer,
yeah,
and I,
yeah.
and I know
So when I was
your
young,
daughters play
when
the
I,
piano, so you're a bit of a
yeah,
musical family, aren't you?
yeah, we are. I mean, and that's thanks to my upbringing in Eldoret because we used to go to the Gurudwara to learn. So I've never learned professionally, but just messing around. And then when I came to the UK, I started my own band with some other teenagers. It was
That's right. I
called
was just about to
Dil
mention that you used
Dilwale.
to used to sing with my cousin Asha, right?
Yeah, with
Yeah. Yeah.
Asha and
Yeah.
Shilan, Gauri,
That's it. Yeah.
Amit.
That's
I
right.
was
Yeah.
on the keyboards with Chetan Manan, Punit on
Yeah.
tabla.
When it hurry,
So
I
yeah,
know. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, we had quite a successful band. We used to play for some of the religious functions, Paryushan, Navratri, and then yeah, raising money for charity. So yeah, we used to perform at private gigs as well. So yeah, but I mean that never happened. My rock band career, but
No, but
yeah.
you've
So
got
I
a different
qualified.
career now. I mean, you made noises in the tech sector. I mean, you're a CEO of iXAfrica data center. Tell me a little bit about that. What is that?
Yeah, so maybe just to take you through the early days. So after qualifying from Imperial College, then I went into chartered accountancy. Always wanted to do that, so I started with Price Waterhouse then. So I qualified in audit. And when I was working at Price Waterhouse, my one of my main clients was at that time a very young telco, a startup, very vibrant startup called Orange.
Yep.
So I was one of the first few employees then who joined Orange. And I had a wonderful stint there for around 10, 12 years. I got very good exposure. So I was working for the global CEO of Orange, who's was my mentor to date. But yeah, when they bought an operation in Kenya back in 2008, they bought the incumbent parastatal here called Telkom Kenya. That's when I got an opportunity to move back to Kenya. It was something I'd never even dreamt of because we were settled in the UK. But I think that was the turning point in my life, I would say, because I from various reasons, because I our daughters were 3 and 5 when we moved to Kenya, and we've managed to bring them up, the way my wife and I grew up. And yeah, so I was 5 years as an expat with Orange in Kenya. And then after I finished my stint, I was due to be shipped back to the UK, but that's when I ended my corporate career. After sort of 15 years working with these multinationals like Orange, and that's when I got into the world of startups. So the last 10 years, so IX is my fourth startup. My first one was in the telecom towers business, where actually the ex CEO of Orange, he started this company called Eaton Towers, and he brought me on board to be the CFO. So we built a big portfolio of telecom towers across 5 countries in Africa. And in 2018, we sold it to the largest telecom tower company in the world called American Tower. So that's when I exited. And then also, something about my career is I've always uh, maintained my network that I've had along the way. So I've always ended up working for my previous bosses or previous colleagues. So the CEO of this company, Eaton Towers, he became the chairman of a very interesting sort of social enterprise called Azuri Technologies. So this was an offshoot from the University of Cambridge, and the mission of the company was to basically provide solar power to rural homes in Africa in a very affordable way. As you may know, in Africa, more than half the population is still not electrified. So, basic necessity that you and I, take for granted. The bulk of the population don't have that. But again, with technology, we're able to, leapfrog that. So we developed a pay-as-you-go solar system. So, which consisted of like a 30-watt solar panel, a lithium-ion phosphate battery with four LED lights. It came with a rechargeable radio, a torch, and then we were also the first company to introduce a fully solar-powered satellite television system. And basically, we made it affordable through microfinance. And as you may know, Kenya is the birthplace for mobile money. So our customers were paying equivalents of like 50 US cents a day to use that system. And they pay over a period of time, so say 18 to 24 months. And if they don't pay, then the system doesn't work. So we had that sort of, shut off technology. And then once they've paid off, then the system unlocks, and then it's for them to use forever. So yeah, I built up that company. Again, we had about 300,000 households we were powering across 6 countries in Africa. And then during COVID, I merged that company with a Canadian competitor called Solar Panda. So again, that's when I exited. And then my next stint was again in something very different in education, but in tech education. So I built up a company which I'm still involved in. We're the market leader in this part of the world. It's called Moringa School, where we were giving boot camp type education to students post high school. So as an alternative to going to university, and so we were training the talent here in software engineering, in data science. But we don't stop there. We actually help them either get into their entrepreneurship career or find jobs. And we have a 70% plus, job placement rate. So that's been, super satisfying. So to date, we will train some 20,000 students and created jobs. So the work that I've been doing here has been, very satisfying because it's given me an opportunity to really,
Sounds very rewarding.
change lives.
Yeah, you are. It's rewarding, right? You'll see
And
actually the change.
yeah, yeah, and so the what I've become to be an expert on is scaling up businesses. So every 5 years. I look at basically taking a company from a very early days and then build up the company, build up the team, build up the product, the go-to-market, and then make it into a sizable revenue business which is profitable, and then look at exiting, and then go into the next venture. So 18 months ago, I then got into my current venture, which is again in the infrastructure space, where we're currently building and running the largest data center in East and Central Africa. It's called iXAfrica. We're backed by the largest PE fund that is focused on Africa. They're called Helios Private Equity, and this is a great timing for us because this is now when the whole cloud revolution is just yeah, it's an inflection point. It's really getting boosted. and then with all the the infrastructure to power all the AI workloads. So that's really what I'm busy with.
So I mean, that sounds really exciting. It's like almost the birth of the mobile phone, is it? With AI, it's that kind of feeling. When you're working for Orange, the phones were a lot bigger. You wouldn't really take pictures on them. It's a very different time, isn't it? And with AI, it's still very early on. The potential is huge.
Yeah, and the beauty about a continent like Africa is just like we never had cable TV or landlines. We leapfrog straight into the new technology in those days, which was mobile. We never had the need of using credit cards and debit cards like you do in the
And I,
Western
I mean, I
world.
found that fascinating using a mobile phone to pay, and you've got, you can buy some mangoes or melons or whatever on the street and just pay by your phone. I still find that quite fascinating. We don't have that in the UK, and it's
Yeah,
very
so we're ahead,
simple.
and the same way, I think with AI, we will leapfrog the usage of that because again, we don't need to use the old cloud technologies. So
Yeah,
whatever we do now will be AI ready.
yeah, yeah. So look, I was talking to a friend of mine, a chap called Mark Aladeff, and his son Robert Aladeff used to work for you. He's now the CEO of Jackfruit Finance, and he spoke very
Yes,
highly of you.
yes, yes. We work together
That's right.
Zuri.
Yeah, so I've
So
known
yeah,
his
great.
dad. So I've known his dad for more than 30 years. So,
Oh wow, small world.
so it's a very, very small world. We're all connected. That's
Yeah,
the word. Offshore
yeah,
connect.
yeah.
We're
He
all
has
connected.
a very interesting social enterprise as well because
Yes,
what they do is
he's
they raise funding to build infrastructure for schools. So if a
right.
school wants to build classrooms, etc., then it's called Jackfruit Finance.
That's right.
They finance it. So yeah, I've been mentoring Rob a bit to
For
get
a
him
long time.
started.
Yeah, and I think like I said, he really does appreciate it. He spoke very highly of you. So it's very good. And talk about
Thanks.
connections. What's our connection? So my father-in-law and your dad, best friends apparently.
Yeah, exactly. And
They're
yeah, I
joined
mean
at the hip
your wife and her sisters, and yeah, we used to
to play together
uh,
as kids, right?
used to play together as kids. So
Good
small
memories.
world.
Good
Yeah,
memories.
yeah,
Right? So,
yeah.
which moves me on to one. I've got kind of another question. Is philanthropy? I know we touch on running. You've done a couple of marathons in Kenya. I know I've seen photographs with you with a couple of marathon runners, which is very exciting. Um, have you got plans to do more charity work?
Yeah, look, charity is the way we've been brought up. It's been part of our life. My grandparents, my parents, they've been doing a lot, of course, with the community. Um, but I'm also a Freemason, and through Freemason, we don't talk about it much, but we
I didn't know
support.
that existed in Kenya. I didn't know that was in
Well,
Kenya.
I became a Freemason in the UK,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and at that time, yeah, we had done a lot of fundraising. In fact, we built a school for sort of mentally handicapped children in Kampala in Uganda. And again, I've used my music to raise those kind of funds. My wife who's an audiologist, so she fits hearing aids, and through her profession also, there's a lot of work that she does to support the unaffording.
Yep.
And yeah, with our daughters also, we've been involved again through music, raising funds for different charities. The last when I did London Marathon, we raised funds to support a school in Uganda, and then also through my school Moringa. There are lots of unaffording kids that we take through our program, and again change their lives by giving them opportunities that they would have never dreamt of, and not only doing the training, but then we then find careers for them. So yeah, I think
I
that's
mean,
the way we've been brought up
yeah, I
to.
mean, yeah, talk about brought up. I mean, your parents are very active in the local community here in kind of OAUK, Oshwell Association of the United Kingdom. I see your mum help out all the time at Ector Centre. Your dad's very much involved. He's an ex-committee member, and I'm sure when you were growing up, you were dragged to Oshwell Centre, to all these events and stuff, and I presume that that upbringing has kind of transpired to you, and you've given it to your kids as well. in terms of being part of a community or an extended family, as you were when you're being brought up. You seem to learn a lot of things, don't you? You get a different skill set.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this also goes back to, our upbringing, being in a, extended family. So you're always brought up to, and then it's also, part of our religion, where, we always think not only for our self-interest, but also, think for the others. And also, being brought up, my dad had a sister and a brother who are also, physically,
Yep.
disabled.
Yep.
So yeah, always kind of looking after them.
Yep.
So yeah, and I think we are fortunate that we live not only to fulfill our own wishes or our families, but also we're able to as human beings to contribute to other people who may not be in a similar situation as us.
Yeah, I mean, look, I got to say, every time I see your dad, he's super proud of all three of his children in terms of what they've achieved. I enjoy spending time with Alan. I think he's a great character. He's good fun. And it's remarkable how much work your mum and dad do in terms of looking after him, and obviously still doing the community stuff. I mean, your dad's 80 plus now, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I
And
celebrated his 80th last
yeah,
year. Yeah.
yeah. So, but he's still very active. He's still, in his head, he's still very much 50. He's got a lot of energy, and I can see where you get that from now because you're very energetic, and you're probably a million miles an hour. I'm sure when we finish this conversation, you'll probably have another five things to do. You like multitasking, doing lots of things, and I think that's probably from your dad. And I think, look, just to wrap up the interview, there's not many people in the world that have met King Charles. I mean, you escorted him in Kenya when he had his visit there. What was that like, meeting King Charles?
Yeah, I mean that was around this time last year,
Yep.
and after he became king, because the queen actually was coronated
Correct.
whilst she was also in Kenya. So
Yep.
his first
Perfect.
foreign visit
Yep.
was coming to Kenya, and our company got chosen to we were one of the five companies chosen as innovative companies to present to King Charles. So yeah, I got to spend a good sort of 15-20 minutes with him.
Wow.
He was super inquisitive and engaged, and of course, he cares a lot about sustainability and the environment, and that's the kind of the work that we're doing also with our data center, which is a green data center.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was an honor.
And in terms of the Kenyan government, you've met probably the last couple of presidents, I would have thought.
Right when I was, I think, probably 1 year old, my mom. In fact, there's a picture where President Kibaki was I was in his arms. Then my wife, until he passed away recently, at the age of more than 100, President Moy. So my wife used to look after him. President Kenyatta, he came to my launch when I launched my mobile money product with Orange. And yeah, with the current president, I've been on his tech advisory board as well. So yeah, I mean, those are things that are part and parcel of the work that we do.
I think my last question to you is, what message would you have to young Oshwals?
People follow their passion, and it doesn't you don't have to follow the traditional route to make a career, but you can be great in drama or music, or if you like traveling, whatever. So yeah, I just have a simple message, and I think that's something that again, whilst I do have a traditional career, but we as a family, we're really fun-loving people. So we strike a very good balance between working hard, playing hard. That's another message I would give is, and we love traveling, and life is too short, so really to make sure that you make the most of it.
Look, you clearly enjoy what you do, and I think it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, Sneher. So thank you very much for joining me for this podcast, and I wish you well. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, it's been fun. Thanks, Bunty.